This man, this animal, this piece of shit, this bastard took the lives of 17 people. 17 medical examiners testified about what your bullets did to our children's bodies. And you sat there with the same freaking expression you have now. None.
Your act of terrorism resulted in the murder of 51 people. Most of your victims were at prayer. You violated places of worship where people came together for peace and fellowship. On the charge of committing...
builds a fort in court, and it immediately backfires. The hell you said, man. The judge barely got the question out. Jury instructions, routine, boring. The kind of procedural question that usually gets a one-word answer. Instead, Darryl Brooks decided to declare war. You and I have been getting disrespected since the beginning of this whole process, so welcome to the club. This is not how court works. This is not how anything works. And yet here we are, watching a man who drove an SUV through a Christmas parade, killing 6 people and injuring more than 60 others, try to turn his own murder trial into a spectacle of pure, unfiltered contempt. We need to back up, because the only thing more unbelievable than what Brooks said in court is how he got there in the first place. Let me explain. Waukesha, Wisconsin. November 21st, 2021, the annual Christmas parade. Families lined the streets, kids waving, bands playing, the kind of small-town American scene that feels almost too wholesome to be real. Then a red SUV entered the parade route. At first, people thought it was part of the show, a float they had not seen before, a last-minute addition. But then the car did not stop. It did not slow down. It accelerated directly into a crowd of dancers, marching bands, and spectators. 6 people died that night. An 8-year-old boy named Jackson Sparks, a senior citizen named Leanna Owen, 4 others whose only crime was standing in the wrong place at the wrong time. More than 60 others were injured. 17 of them were children. Brooks ran. He ditched the SUV and knocked on a stranger's door, asking to use a phone to call an Uber. The stranger let him in, had no idea he was hosting a mass murderer. The police arrived half an hour later and arrested Brooks without incident. He played dumb during interrogation, said he did not own a vehicle, said his baby mama dropped him off on the side of the road, claimed he had no idea why detectives were asking about a red SUV. But they had video. They had witnesses. They had his mother's car, which he had been driving, and the keys, which were still in his pocket. Here is where most defendants would realize the game is over. Here is where most people would take a deal, show some remorse, try to shave a few years off a life sentence. Darryl Brooks did not do that. Instead, he fired his lawyer and decided to represent himself. Now, representing yourself in a criminal trial is almost never a good idea. There is an old saying in the law, a lawyer who represents himself has a fool for a client. That applies double when you are facing 76 felony counts, including 6 charges of first-degree intentional homicide. But Brooks did not care. He walked into that courtroom like he owned it, and then he built a fort. I am not being figurative. Brooks brought 2 large cardboard boxes to court and set them up directly in front of where he was seated. He stacked them so the judge could not see his face.
Did the defendant ever tell you that he saw the boys with a firearm?
No.
The couple sped back to their hotel. Meanwhile, police had just arrived at the scene of the shooting.
I saw a young black male sitting on the driver's side rear passenger seat, sobbing uncontrollably. He was cradling another young black male's head.
The car was covered in bullet holes. Miraculously, 2 of the teens survived the attack. 17-year-old Davis passed away on the scene. The next day, Michael Dunn and his fiancée drove back to their home almost 2 hours away, where Dunn was arrested. During the interrogation,
what he was doing, Brooks refused to answer. When the judge ordered deputies to remove the boxes, Brooks snapped.
Drove back to their home almost 2 hours away, where Dunn was arrested. During the interrogation, he claimed self-defense.
Was in such a panic, fear for my life, for the love of my life. I didn't, you know,
in fear for the love of your life, what had they done?
Well, had they been out of their truck doing whatever to me when she came out, they would have, I just assumed.
Once again, we're acting off assumptions.
But the investigators didn't believe him because of one key detail.
if there was a shotgun, a BB gun, any type of gun at the scene. Hell, if it was a water gun that was black that looked real at the
Trying
scene.
to put on this little act like you so worried about what's going on with me. You don't give a damn. Never did.
You weren't there.
But he was lying.
When you came out of the gate gas station and you got into the defendant's car?
Yes.
Did the defendant ever tell you he saw a gun in that red SUV?
No.
Back in the hotel room, Miss Rower, that same night, did the defendant ever tell you that he saw the boys with a firearm?
No.
The couple sped back to their hotel. Meanwhile, police had just arrived at the scene of the shooting.
I saw a young black male sitting on the driver's side rear passenger seat, sobbing uncontrollably. He was cradling another young black male's head.
The car was covered in bullet holes. Miraculously, 2 of the teens survived the attack. 17-year-old Davis passed away on the scene. The next day,
The judge told him he was being disrespectful. Brooks laughed. You can smile all you want, sir. You pay me to answer all these questions, but you have yet to answer one question I asked you. This is where the audience usually asks, how did the judge not hold him in contempt? How did he get away with talking to a judge like that? The answer is that judges have enormous discretion in how they handle disruptive defendants. And this judge, Jennifer Dorow, made a calculated decision. She let Brooks talk. She let him rage. She let him build his cardboard fort and shout about disrespect and accuse the court of conspiracy. Because she knew something Brooks did not. Every word he said was being recorded. Every outburst was being witnessed by the jury. And every moment of chaos he created made it easier for 12 ordinary citizens to reach the only verdict that made sense. Let me pause here because this is important. What Brooks was doing had a name in legal terms. It is called a speedy trial violation gambit, mixed with pro-se disruption tactics. The idea is that if you make the trial impossible to conduct, if you delay proceedings long enough, if you provoke enough mistrials, eventually the court will have to let you go. It almost never works. Judges have seen it before. They have a word for defendants who try this. They call it playing the fool. But Brooks was not done. When the district attorney mentioned a prior conviction for
bad enough, the terrorists then set fire to the building. Now anyone still hiding inside was faced with a terrible choice. Threatened by the fire, those still alive were forced to abandon their hiding spots and run for safety. But they walked right into the terrorists' trap. A total of 167 people were killed in the attack, and another 100 were seriously wounded. The attackers used the cover of smoke and chaos to make their escape, but it was only a matter of time until their deeds caught up to them.
statutory sexual seduction in Nevada, Brooks exploded.
The music, but Michael Dunn, the man in the car next to them, had a problem with that.
Body panels of the SUV were rattling. My rear view mirror was shaking. My eardrums were vibrating. I mean, this was ridiculously loud music.
Dunn and his fiancée were in town to attend a wedding. In court later, Dunn's fiancée recalls the chilling words Dunn spoke to her as he got out of the car.
And what did the defendant say?
I hate that thug music.
But Dunn called her a liar.
You don't recall saying, "I hate that thug music"?
No, if I would have said anything, I would have called it rap crap. Thug music isn't a term I would use.
Whatever his phrasing, the fiancée went inside the store to purchase a bottle of wine. Little did she know, her life was about to change forever. Dunn exited his vehicle and approached the car full of teenagers.
I said, "Can you turn that down, please?" They turned it off. And if the music wasn't off, at least the bass stopped completely.
Okay. And at that point...
Since he wants to make a record and not be accurate, let's be accurate. Let's ask how old she told me she was. The judge called a recess. Brooks kept yelling even after court was dismissed. Did you know she said she was 18 when I met her? Did you know that? Here is the thing about that defense. Even if it were true, it would not matter. Statutory rape laws do not require the victim to have lied. They require the defendant to have had sex with a minor. The minor's statements are not a defense. Brooks knew this, or he should have, but he was not trying to win on the law. He was trying to win on chaos. Think about what is happening in that courtroom right now. The judge has called a recess. The jury is in the deliberation room. The bailiffs are watching Brooks like hawks, and Brooks is sitting behind his cardboard boxes, probably convinced he is winning. This is the moment where the audience needs to understand something about how trials actually work. A recess is not just a break. It is a pressure valve. It is the judge buying time to let emotions cool before the next phase of the proceeding. And it is often the moment when quiet conversations happen between lawyers and judges about how to handle what just happened. We do not know what Judge Dorow discussed during that recess, but we know what happened when court resumed. She did not hold Brooks in contempt. She did not remove him from the courtroom. She just kept going, kept asking questions, kept letting him answer, kept letting him dig, and dig he did. When the jury found him guilty on all 6 homicide counts and all 70 other charges, Brooks accused a juror of flipping him off during...
The couple sped back to their hotel. Meanwhile, police had just arrived at the scene of the shooting.
I saw a young black male sitting on the driver's side rear passenger seat, sobbing uncontrollably. He was cradling another young black male's head.
The car was covered in bullet holes. Miraculously, 2 of the teens survived the attack. 17-year-old Davis passed away on the scene. The next day, Michael Dunn and his fiancée drove back to their home almost 2 hours away, where Dunn was arrested. During the interrogation, he claimed self-defense.
Was in such a panic, fear for my life, for the love of my life. I didn't, you know,
after fear for the love of your life, what had they done?
Well, had they been out of their truck doing whatever to me when she came out, they would have, I just assumed.
Once again, we're acting off assumptions.
But the investigators didn't believe him because of one key detail.
If there was a shotgun, a BB gun, any type of gun at the scene. Hell, if it was a water gun that was black, that looked real at the scene.
Like I said, it was a barrel. Could have been just a stick, but I mean, it was...
Could have been your imagination.
Earlier appearance. The lady in the black in that corner chair flipped me off coming into my initial appearance. I know it's her for a fact. The judge asked for proof. Brooks had none. Then he tried to renounce his own identity. He claimed his name was written in all capital letters on the charging documents, which meant it was not really his name. This is a common sovereign citizen argument. Courts have rejected it thousands of times. It has never worked. It will never work. But Brooks kept going anyway, because he could not stop, because the performance had become the only thing he had left. Finally, after all the outbursts, after the cardboard fort, after the accusations and the conspiracy theories and the endless interruptions, Judge Dorow delivered her sentence.
The EMTs were shocked at his behavior.
We witnessed a child in the throes of psychosis.
It took hours, but Crumbly eventually calmed down. That's when police ushered in his parents so they could be present during the questioning. But Crumbly's father had other ideas.
We need to ask any questions right now. Hey, I'll back up.
This was the first time Crumbly had shown emotion, and it was for his cat, Dexter. At that, his parents lost it.
Why? I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you.
During the investigation, police discovered that Ethan Crumbly wasn't the only one responsible for this massacre. Over the past few months, he had repeatedly
On counts 1 through 6, this court is imposing a life sentence without the possibility of eligibility for extended supervision, consecutive to one another.
I love you. I love you.
During the investigation, police discovered that Ethan Crumbly wasn't the only one responsible for this massacre. Over the past few months, he had repeatedly alerted his parents to his mental and emotional distress. But instead of helping him, the parents bought him a gun. When the police arrived at their residence with an arrest warrant, they were nowhere to be found. They had gone on the run, but not far enough. After just a few days of searching, the Crumbly parents were found sleeping inside of a friend's art studio. With them, they had $4,000 in cash. Both parents were arrested and charged with involuntary manslaughter for irresponsibly giving Crumbly access to a weapon. In court, Crumbly seemed to be genuinely remorseful for his actions.
I am a really bad person. I have done terrible things that no one should ever do. All I want is...
That means 6 life sentences. 1 for each person he killed, each one served back-to-back, not at the same time. 6 lifetimes before he even starts serving time for the other 70 charges. Then the judge kept going. She added 700 more years. 700. For the first time since his trial began, Brooks had nothing to say. The audience in the gallery applauded. Victims' families wept with relief. And the judge delivered the line that should...
Freaking expression you have now. None.
Your act of terrorism resulted in the murder of 51 people. Most of your victims were at prayer. You violated places of worship where people came together for peace and fellowship. On the charge of committing a terrorist act, you were sentenced to life imprisonment.
Death to the enemies of America. You call it terrorism, I call it patriotism. You hear me? Die.
At least 40 people are dead and over 100 injured after heavily armed gunmen burst into a packed theater near Moscow and opened fire.
On March 22, 2024, 4 gunmen associated with Islamic State, Khorasan province, coordinated a terror attack against civilians at the Crocus City Hall music venue in Moscow, Russia. Shamsuddin Fariduni, along with his 3 co-conspirators, Delurjan Mirzoyev, Said Akrami Rakhabalizoda, and Mohammad Sobir Feyzov, snuck into an active concert venue in Moscow with a nefarious plan. Once the hall was full of people, the conspirators, all members of ISIS, opened fire. The concertgoers were horrified. Those who were still outside fled to safety, but with gunmen at the entrance and exits, anyone already inside the building was trapped. Hundreds of people sat in their seats, wondering why the concert was delayed. They quickly realized the truth.
The rest of his unnatural life. I know it's symbolic, but it needs to hold you accountable in a very real and tangible way, because frankly, you deserve it. So what is the lesson here? What can you take from this case that might actually help you if you ever find yourself in a courtroom? Here it is. Do not mistake silence for weakness. Judge Dorow let Brooks scream. Let him build forts. Let him accuse her of conspiracy. She gave him enough rope to hang himself, and he took every inch she offered. The most dangerous person in any courtroom is not the defendant who yells. It is the judge who listens, who takes notes, who lets you say everything you want to say, because when the transcript gets read back to the jury, your words become the evidence against you. Darryl Brooks wanted to be remembered as a revolutionary, a man who stood up to the system and refused to back down. Instead, he will spend the next 700 years in a concrete box, remembered only as the man who built a cardboard fort in court and immediately lost everything. The audience applauded when the sentence was read. The law does not often give us moments of perfect justice. But when it does, the silence after the gavel falls is the sweetest sound there is.